And welcome back to the COVID Reboot Series brought to you by the Cape Town Fashion Council. I'm your host, Colin Donsko. Today we are in conversation with Stéphane Rogovsky, founder and CEO at R Squared. He's the top 50 global industry players in influencer marketing in 2019, chairman of the Digital and Innovation Portfolio Committee at the Cape Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the chairman at the Influencer Marketing Committee at IB South Africa. Mr. Rogovsky, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Now, loads to talk about with new developments we're seeing in the marketing landscape. And so firstly, thank you for taking the time out to talk to us today. Today, we are discussing new media and ways to leverage the fourth industrial revolution. But firstly, the fourth industrial revolution is characterized by a range of new technologies that are fusing the physical, digital, and biological worlds, impacting all disciplines, economies, and industry. Today, we're honing in on the digital transformation we're seeing in this space. Now, the resulting shifts and disruptions mean that we live in a time of great promise as the world has the potential to connect billions of people or billions more people to digital networks. So firstly, Mr. Rogovsky, I know that you're one of the experts in the country when it comes to these new media platforms and what we're seeing evolve in this space. But firstly, how will this current pandemic that we're facing, and more importantly, what will be its effects on our economy? How will it accelerate new marketing platforms?
It starts first by you addressing me as Stefan, not Mr. Rogovsky. Perfect. Well, COVID-19 has changed like a lot when it comes into marketing. And the main reason is people react to fear, brands react to fear, to uncertainty. They cannot sell. They're seeing budget reduction. Can we spend in marketing if our turnover will be reduced? Typically, marketing is the first one is the first expense to be cut or reduced.
Yeah.
Which to my opinion is a big mistake, because brands have spent years for some, decades for others, and investing very large amount of money and time in acquiring clients and in building customer loyalty. And then eventually, when they cannot sell immediately, then communication is interrupted. So it's kind of in trust, which is definitely not ideal. Now you need to manage the budget consideration with the relationship that you build with your captive audience, or that you don't want to build with your captive audience. So it's very, very much impacting this.
Yeah.
And it's also proven, like if you look at every single crisis, and there's obviously no other crisis like COVID that has happened before, but previous crises proved too that brands that keep the communication open eventually get out of the crisis stronger than the others. And keep the communication open does not mean hardcore sales. It is just bringing the human messages saying we're here for you, and keeping the communication and the awareness existing. So
absolutely.
That was the biggest impact. Now it has changed the advertising and marketing landscape. Obviously, when you have a full lockdown, and now people can go out, and obviously you still have a lot of restrictions, but people can still go out. But imagine the beginning of the lockdown, where we could really not go out except to go to the pharmacy or to buy groceries. What's called the out-of-home industry, which is billboards, events. There's nothing happening.
Yeah.
So all of this was either cut or reduced, and a big part of it was moved to digital and mainly social media. So there was a big peak in social media. Social media has also seen a large budget decrease.
Yes.
But also everything that was decreased from the more traditional out-of-home billboard, etc., has been moved to social media, or at least what was left. And then from social media, obviously, because also people are more at home, more on their phone, on the social media, on the laptop. There is not someone behind you looking. It's like, are you working? Or are you? Why did you have like a Facebook open? No. So they spend much more time on social media. Now, it has also had a big impact on influencer marketing for the best and for the worst.
Yeah.
And the reason for this is, especially for the best, because COVID-19 is a human crisis. We are all worried about our health, our family. Me, for example, just in case you did not realize that I have an accent, my first language is French. I'm from Belgium. When will I be able to see my family?
Yeah.
I've not seen them since February, and it's very likely that I will not see them until next year. So it's a human crisis for these reasons, but also we worry about the economy, about will we keep our job or income, will we be able to keep on paying for what we need to pay and for food and for the rents, etc. So we are very, and we say we are, is that everyone is really worried now about the human consideration.
Absolutely.
And that's why influencer marketing is actually now getting even more traction than before, because people don't want to be sold a corporate message now. They want to connect with humans. And influencers now, whether they're big or small, large influencers, celebrities, or just micro fashion influencers, for example, who have like relatively small number of followers compared to celebrities, but just a few thousand followers, they are there. They face exactly the same restrictions. They too, they cannot go see grandma, have fun with their friends, travel. Beginning of the crisis, could not go buy or see the new fashion trend or buy new items. And when they share this, their audience will feel that this is not staged. They're actually really frustrated.
It's real.
We're all in the same boat. It's real. I'm facing the same frustration, and they're facing the same frustration. And so the level of relatability that influencers have reached during this COVID-19 crisis has reached a level that has never reached before.
That's incredible. That's incredible. With all of that said, I mean, we're seeing the entire business landscape change. We're seeing the marketing landscape evolve and change. And so new media has really been at the forefront of advertising and marketing right now. So to the small, medium enterprise owners, that are sitting, kind of in the middle, what opportunities does these present for them?
But the opportunities are there to really get more exposure and to move to more exposure and to connect to the audience. Sometimes it's very difficult to, especially for SMEs, to connect with the audience and to get the message out. We are on average globally, I don't know exactly the number, I don't think that there is a real number for South Africa that's been measured, but globally we are reached between 4,000 to 10,000 advertising messages per day. Wow. So everywhere you go, when you drive, you pass through so many billboards. When you go on social media, or Google is flashing from all over the place, and your website has banners. Even if you go to the dentist, in the waiting room, you'll have posters speaking about, let's say, I don't know, a medical aid that covers for dental, that has a dental coverage. So everywhere, and it's not even speaking about radio, TV, etc. So everywhere you have so much advertising, and obviously, because it's a game of number, the more you see the brand, the more you remember it, and the more appealing it is to you, then the biggest brand with the biggest budgets have the bigger capacity to actually bring the message out. Yeah. So I actually won't complain about it because we work only on the large brand. But for SMEs, it's indeed a consideration, because how do they compete? How do they get the word out, knowing that there is so much noise around in terms of advertising message, and no space for them to broadcast the message? And whenever they get maybe the possibility to do it is becoming so expensive, because then you need to bid with the bigger guys.
Yes.
Now, with influencer marketing, you have actually an inverted relationship between what we call in the industry between reach and impact, reach and engagement rate. And the reach for an influencer will be the number of followers that an influencer has. And so how many people the influencer can actually reach by speaking about a brand. And the engagement rate is the number of reactions that you will find on influencer. So like a comment, asking for more information, or whatever call to action, click here or do something. Now, the smaller the influencer usually, in terms of audience size, the more engagement, the more impact. And because they're much more relatable, again, they connect more to their audience and much more, you can see that these are all the same kind of person as you are. So, and they're also much more specialized. If you take, I always use the example of black coffee. I think it's going to hit me for this, but, but the reality is that black coffee, he's a very popular celebrity in South Africa. He's a DJ. Now, he's very famous and credible for music. He can also advertise fashion because he has a large audience and he can advertise whatever brand. He will also do Hunter the cider. He does not even drink alcohol, but he can still bring the word out. If he does if he endorses the new, let's say, Volkswagen Polo, yeah, okay, we'll get the word out, but everyone knows that he probably drives a Range Rover or a Lamborghini. So he will not drive a Volkswagen Polo. Now, celebrities and large influencers have the reach to get like a very large number of eyeballs, but they have much less relevance to each product because their audience is so vast that is actually much more diversified.
Wow.
Now,
wow. Yes.
When you work with smaller influencers, usually they are specialized in a category. It could be beauty, it could be fashion, it could be parenting, it could be so many different things. Now, let's take the example, because my last example was parenting. Let's take the example of a mom influencer. A mom influencer will not be, well, most of the time, will not be followed because of her fashion style or because of her food taste or because of expertise in whatever. But she will be followed because of everything that is related to parenting, her family. Now, if she endorses the Volkswagen Polo, again, you don't have relevance because she's not a car expert. But now if she speaks about the fact that, let's say that the loading capacity is ideal for a family, now the relevance is created because she is within her sphere. And fashion is the same. When you work with smaller influencers who are very specialized into fashion and into knowledgeable into this, then they will bring much more expertise.
Absolutely, yes.
And conversation around the brand. And because they're much smaller in terms of audience size, they're also much more affordable, which is important for SME. And very often some will actually be very happy to not be paid, but to be paid in kind, so to receive fashion items. They're passionate about fashion, so they will be super happy to actually receive.
Absolutely. So more product exchange agreements. You mentioned relevance. I want to zoom in on relevance for a second. With the way that these new marketing platforms are evolving and changing, what strategy should, and in your opinion, what strategy should SME owners be paying attention to and then also adopting in their businesses?
Well, that's marketing in general. It's not only influencer marketing.
Yeah.
Also, when selecting your influencer, when we're associating, so working with an influencer is not only working because, or should not at least, be because an influencer has an audience.
Yeah.
You actually have a brand association. So every fashion SME will associate their brand with the influencer who has own brand, which is her persona, let's say. Okay, so you need to really have relevance between the two. So the strategy should really be, there is a saying in marketing that says, look, if your brand was a person, who would it be? And people buy from people. They don't really buy from brands. So what personality would your brand have? And that's a key concept, because if you look at any brand, what's the difference between you and another one? Okay, the execution and the design and the style. But besides the design, what's the message? What's the spirit about the brand? And for the biggest brands, if you take like I don't know, let's say the 5 big banks in South Africa, they basically offer exactly the same service.
Absolutely.
But
yes.
Some are more appealing to others because of the personality positioning, the color, who they speak, the message that they're sharing, etc. So the first point here would be to really make sure that the brand is really, really, really aligned with what it stands for. And that whoever you associate with in terms of influencers, to go back to this discussion, is actually not only aligned because of the fashion style, but also because of the personal values.
Absolutely. Let's unpack this a bit more. Influencer marketing is one of the biggest marketing trends globally right now. How is ROI calculated? I've never had this discussion. I think it's a big question on many management to middle level layer management's minds. How do you calculate the return on investment with influencer marketing campaigns?
You don't even imagine how many times this discussion speak about conferences about it, or I try to find some point of agreement with my clients about it. And my clients are the largest brands and advertising agencies. So when it comes to speaking about ROI, you have like strict, clear targets and processes that you need to achieve.
Yeah.
But when it comes to influencer marketing, it's a different story. And the reason why, you have a few concepts. First, if you consider social media advertising, paid media, it's what I would call an unsolicited brand message that requires an immediate call to action. And explaining myself. First, it's unsolicited because when you scroll on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you see an advertising that's been served to you. You've never asked to get it. You just probably visited a website and then they identify that you like this kind of brand, a fashion brand, and then immediately you do it. You receive this kind of advertising. So it's unsolicited. You have an immediate call to action, because if you don't click on it now, sign up, register, ask for more information, purchase now, you keep on scrolling, a second later, you forget about it.
You forget, yes.
Now, but the advantage of social media advertising is that you have an unlimited database, which correspond to everyone on social media who matches your target audience. Okay. Now, there you can actually really, really measure the ROI, because you know how many impressions, how many clicks, how many sales, how many different things, because you also have this immediate call to action. You must do it now, and then you can measure how many actions were actually taken. Influencer marketing works differently. First, the influencer does not speak to a wide audience, but speak to his or her own captive audience, the followers. So, and even if you have a super large influencer with millions of followers, it will still be much less than what is available on the social media universe.
Yes.
But they also speak in a way that is much more personal and authentic and relatable. So when someone says, okay, well, I actually love these, because we're speaking about fashion, I love this fashion brand, and I engage with the fashion designer or with the owner of the company, and I want to visit this, I don't know, let's say the production line or I could participate to designing one item. And then this is why it actually relates to me, and this is why I love this style, and it reminds me of a personal story that is related to my childhood or to a dream or to whatever, a passion of mine. Then I'm telling a story. Let's imagine that I'm an influencer. I'm telling a story where I actually explain why it relates to me at a personal level. And because my followers follow me for who I am, and because I want to see what I'm sharing about myself, then they will appreciate this because this is what they want to see. And they will most likely also relate in their way because it's storytelling. So they will think about their dreams, about what they would like to design, about how they would react, about their childhood memories, about so many things. So now, when you're connecting this, you're actually creating an emotional connection. It's not only an endorsement, say, I've discovered these brands and it's beautiful, but it's telling the story about the brand and how the influencer like matches the story, how the two stories align. Yeah. So when you create this emotional connection, that creates resonance. And several days or weeks or even months later, maybe the person, the target audience does not need to buy now or doesn't have the financial capacity to purchase now, but at a later stage, they will remember these specific brands because of how it resonated with them. Now, how do you track this? When someone actually walks in front of a shop and then just like, oh, I remember this, I really need to get inside and then purchase. And then how do you relate it to the fact that it was because of what? At least somehow impacted by the post of an influencer.
Yes,
it's impossible. It happens like several weeks later. But also, how do you relate the impact and the resonance? How do you calculate this? The influence by definition is a sentiment. Mm-hmm. It's an emotion. Mm-hmm. We cannot measure an emotion. Yeah. So, well, at least not digitally. So the problem with this is that influencer marketing is a tool or journey for awareness, creating brand awareness, creating or strengthening brand love. Sometimes struggle with the word strengthening. And getting the word out and getting the name of the brand out and creating this emotional connection. Same as if you have TV or radio, you can't really attribute the sale to a specific billboard, but you know that they participated into building the awareness. And that's mainly what this influencer marketing is. So creating the ROI is very, very difficult, especially because most of the time, a message from one influencer is not your only marketing effort. So how do you attribute that the sale is coming from this person? So the way that usually influencer marketing is measured is in terms of reach, meaning the number of followers and the number of impressions, because also the number of followers do not represent how many people will actually see it, because social media algorithm will actually define how many people within the followers will actually see it. Yes. And engagement, how many people react to the post. And here, obviously, it's important to also analyze how they react if it's relevant to the brand. Mm-hmm. If you have a fashion model endorsing a fashion brand, but then 97% of the posts say, "Oh, you're so pretty, I like you," or "You're just my idol." Okay, it's fantastic for her ego, but it doesn't relate to the brand.
Yes.
Now, if all the comments are like, "Oh, I love this product and you wear it so well," it's a different story. So, reach and engagement rate, mostly, we need to go into analyze actually at the people level, like the quality of the engagement rate and the relevance of the engagement rate. And then if you put paid media, so if you sponsor the post of the influencer and ask and agree with the influencer that he or she will create the content, but that the brand will repost it as social media advertising, let's say, then you get additional feeders related to paid media. The content can be made shoppable, it can be clickable, and you have so many additional feeders. In that, there you can calculate the ROI, because you will know if you sell online, you know how much you invested, you know how much you've sold, and then you can calculate ROI. Otherwise,
it's very challenging. So you'd advise brands to go into these paid partnership agreements with influencers, because that's the best way to track, or easiest way for them to track their ROI on spend.
Well, it depends. There's no clear answer to that. The question is like, first, what is ROI? What is your goal? For example, very often I hear the word, I want to have conversions. But conversions for some will be a sale, for other will be a click, for other will be sign up to a newsletter, and for other they will consider conversion actually as discussion starting around the brand. So what is everyone trying to do? Is a fashion brand trying to get the word out, even if it does not trigger immediately sales, but trying to get exposure. And maybe the word exposure and maybe a press or an article from the media, because you start to get, then you don't need to track it in the same way. Now, if you are, and especially if you're speaking about an SME, so many fashion brands do not sell online, so that will not be the one. On the other hand, so many brands will say, okay, we're not selling online, but we would like to build our database of customers. Sign up here, or watch a video about the design process. So it's ROI is a return on investment according to what is your KPI, your key performance indicator, what you want to achieve. And for some, it might be very much important to put some paid media budget behind it. And for others, no, it really depends on each brand.
Wow, well, that's some incredible insights, and I think these are the questions being asked. And again, many do not fully understand, the relationships, how to calculate, things like ROI, etc., etc. But let's talk for a second on guidelines. What are some of the guidelines? So when entering into, so we've been advocating for, influencer marketing. This is the way to go. This is one of the big, new marketing trends we're seeing, and we've been advising brands to consider this. But when entering into these, agreements or relationships, for these campaigns, what are some of the guidelines used to facilitate the campaign or the relationship?
Yeah. Before all, align with the regulation.
Yes.
and then it's social media regulation is requires disclosure of sponsorship. And that aligns to, it's also extended to the influencer marketing. I actually wrote this part of the regulation for the influencer marketing part. And it clearly says that you need to disclose advertising or sponsorship. Now, this is via, the influencer will need to put hashtag AD for advertising, hashtag SP for sponsored, or in full words, hashtag sponsored, hashtag advertising, or even use let's say the paid media functionality of Facebook or Instagram, for example. Many brands, and especially SME, don't even know about it, and that's a problem. It's mandatory. It's not really enforced in South Africa, so there's not so many consequences.
Okay.
Until the regulators start looking at it, so you don't want to take the risk. Okay. Now there's a gray area, and the gray zone is actually when it's very easy to know that if an influencer is paid, then he or she is being sponsored. Now, what about, like it happens a lot, sometimes brands identify 20, let's say, influencers, and then send free products or free fashion items, and expect those influencers to actually post about it. But it's not requested specifically, and we don't even know if they will do it. But we hope that if they like, they will post about it. So here there is a gray area, because you've not really asked the influencer to post about it, so it's not sponsored. Absolutely. But on the other hand, you send it to an influencer with the expectation of, so it can be considered a sponsor. So I would, but that the responsibility to come to the influencer. So it's like the first thing is like to really make sure that one understands the regulation and aligns with it. Okay. Now, when it comes to identifying the influencer, I will say the important point is to identify the right influencer first in terms of personality, as I will say. And there are a lot, speaking about the fourth industrial revolution, there is a lot of technologies that are starting, I don't know how we say in English, but in French we'll say like popping up like mushrooms all over the place to identify influencers. So finding influencers on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. is not always easy, because you need to go through so many profiles, but there are actually technologies that allows you to identify them. Usually it comes at a cost, obviously. But finding the influencer who has the right profile, speak to the right audience, and aligned in terms of personality. And I've said it, and I will repeat it, is very, very, very. So many brands just go because, this person has so many followers. No, you need to have an alignment. If the influencer does not believe into the brand, the audience will immediately feel, okay, they're being paid for endorsing my brand, but they don't really believe into it. So why are they not convinced? But if they actually can feel that, okay, this influencer is being paid for endorsing this brand, but we can really see that she's liking it. So then the influencer is being paid for the content creation and for the distribution on social media, but not for liking the brand. And this is where actually the resonance comes. So making sure that there is enough discussion between the brand and the influencer to actually, it's a partnership.
Absolutely.
So you will not get into a partnership with anyone you don't know. So why would you do it with an influencer? Make sure that you align. That's it. That you click. So and it's the best way on going. It's actually the most important part. There is a need to have contracts in theory with an influencer. The problem is that if you're in a SME and you're not an expert into the industry, then the contract will probably not really be adapted to all the needs of the industry, and then there's legal costs and so many different things. So I would say the more discussions that you have, the more alignment there will be between the brand and the influencer, and then the less chances of anything going wrong. And even if something goes wrong, it doesn't matter because you've already connected so much in the beginning that usually you just like take it, okay, let's have a call and let's try to sort it out.
To work.
Which is not, I never had a personal relationship with him.
Yeah, that is one of the areas where there's many questions, there's great uncertainty, yet it's one of the fastest growing trends and preferred trends. So thank you for cutting through all that noise and that clutter. Stéphane, I want to conclude with this. Stéphane, what is your advice to SME owners in light of the current economic situation?
Well, just in general, I would say obviously to just be agile. Agility right now in creativity and innovation is the most important. And I've seen so many companies, and like I'm very much into the entrepreneur world by leading the innovation in digital portfolio committee with the Western Cape Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member of EO, which is entrepreneur organization. So surrounded by entrepreneurs, and I can see right now a lot of people are struggling, but innovating is not only something for the creative people. It's something that anyone can do. It's just like being aware and stop thinking about like, okay, it has been working like this over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, doesn't matter. And now I'm stuck because the current world does not allow me to work that way. It's about to rather say, okay, I can't do this right now. So let's see what is feasible, what are the opportunities, how I can adapt my business to this, because we have to deal with the reality of the world, and it's either change or die, unfortunately. And influencer marketing is one part of it, and digitalization, etc. There's like so many different ways.
Absolutely. Thank you for all of that. We wanted to, again, with the episode or with the series, connect the industry with the key players and the key voices who can steer us in the right direction. If you joined us for the very first time or the very first episode today, we zoomed in on new media and ways to leverage these advancements in the marketing landscape. Again, Stéphane Rogovsky, our guest this afternoon, our speaker this afternoon, founder and CEO at R Squared, and he's one of the top 50 global industry players in the influencer marketing space in 2019. Now to connect with Stéphane and R Squared, visit r2digital.co.za. And for more exciting episodes of the COVID Reboot Series brought to you by the Cape Town Fashion Council, visit www.ctfcdigital.co.za. Mr. Rogovsky, thank you so much for your time, your insight, your advice, and your expertise on the show today.
Thank you so much, Colin.
Thank you so much. Until next time, I'm your host, Colin Donsko. Take care and God bless.